defensive weapons and same-sex marriage. Now, it may not seem like those two have much in common.
But for Taiwan, those are both sources of power. I'm Natalie Tso.
And I'm Andrew Ryan. Let's check out the stories on our radar.
A Taiwanese fighter pilot is dead after his F-5E fighter jet crashed off Taiwan's southeastern coast during a training mission on Thursday morning. The pilot reported a mechanical problem shortly after takeoff, fueling concern about Taiwan's aging aircraft. Microsoft has announced its biggest investment in Taiwan in 31 years. It's part of its plan to make Taiwan into an Asian digital transformation hub. The investment is expected to create 30,000 jobs and $10 billion in value. October 29th marks 200 days of no domestic COVID-19 cases in Taiwan. The country contained the outbreak with nationwide policies like requiring masks and enforcing quarantines. A Bloomberg report says that, quote, Taiwan holds the world's best virus record by far. Out of a total of 550 confirmed cases, only 55 were domestic. Just 7 people have died from COVID-19 in Taiwan. A dry summer with no typhoons has left Taiwan's reservoirs at low levels. The Air Force has stepped in. On October 23rd, it loaded a plane with a vat of salt water and sprayed it into clouds over southern Taiwan that weren't quite ready to produce rainfall. Photographers are flocking to a spot in Nantou County to see an unusual autumn spectacle, a waterfall of clouds cascading over the contours of the local hills.
Now, in the last month or so, we've seen a huge uptick in the number of Chinese jet planes crossing into Taiwan's airspace.
That's right. And this past weekend, we also saw 100 Chinese boats surround a Taiwanese island for the first time.
It looks like we're surrounded. Those are the words of a man who watches as more than 100 Chinese boats gather in waters near the Taiwanese islands of Matsu. Taiwan's Coast Guard tells the ships that they've entered restricted waters and orders them to disperse. These ships began to gather in the early hours of Sunday morning between the islands of Nangan and Juguang. The Coast Guard informs the ships that they will use water cannons to drive them away. But on Monday, Premier Su Tseng tells residents of Taiwan's outlying islands not to worry. The government will leave no stone unturned when it comes to protecting Taiwan's territory, he says. From the beginning of 2019 through the end of this September, Taiwan confiscated 6 Chinese boats and auctioned them off for $5.2 million, slapping the owners with $245,000 in fines. The government says it will strengthen maritime patrols and apprehend boats illegally entering Taiwan's waters.
All this military activity has a lot of media talking about the possibility of war. Is China getting ready to invade Taiwan?
It's a great question, and in fact, you asked that of a defense expert, Dr. Che-chuan, who is from the Institute for National Defense and Security Research. Let's have a look at what he had to say.
Dr. Li, do you think that China could attack Taiwan soon?
My answer would be no. The first reason is that the airplane they sent to Taiwan's airspace are not on combat conditions. And the second one is that we don't see signs of massive military deployment or movement, especially in its southeastern coast. I don't think the PLA is really ready for the so-called all-out war, because we know that if the PLA would like to have very decisive military victory against Taiwan, they need to launch the so-called amphibious assault against Taiwan. But experts in the United States, Taiwan, or even China, they agree that for the amphibious assault, China is not really ready yet, and they don't have any serious plan to launch that kind of operation against Taiwan.
So you mean they're not ready in terms that they don't have the military hardware or...
Not enough.
Not
yes,
enough.
They have some, but not enough. Experts say that if we can destroy, say, like 40% of their amphibious landing vehicles, it would be totally impossible for them to finish that kind of operation.
Taiwan has a lot of beaches that cannot be landed on, right? And are typhoons. It's very difficult to launch an amphibious attack on Taiwan.
Yeah, and that's Taiwan's natural defense advantage. because of the rough coastline in Taiwan. It is estimated by experts say that we only have 14 locations, which means they have the beach wide enough to launch personnel against Taiwan. Only 14 in Taiwan, and we know that, PLA know that, so we have prepared for the kind of scenario or situation. So I don't think it would be easy for the PLA to conduct that kind of operation.
So when you were talking with him, did you just breathe a huge sigh of relief?
Definitely. I'm glad he says he doesn't think there's going to be a war.
Yes.
And gave some good reasons for that. He also said that he thinks, the military activity is due to China's anger over closer U.S.-Taiwan ties.
That makes a lot of sense. Now we're going to have this full interview for you on Facebook and YouTube. Check that out. Now, you mentioned the United States. Recently, in fact, this past week, they started to move forward with another arms package for Taiwan. Let's have a look at that.
The U.S. State Department has approved the sale of 100 Harpoon coastal defense systems to Taiwan. The package still has to be approved by Congress. The Defense Ministry spokesperson thanked the U.S. State Department, saying that the weapons can strengthen Taiwan's combat and asymmetrical warfare capabilities. He said they will help upgrade the military's overall defense capabilities. The new arms package includes 100 Harpoon missiles worth $2.37 billion US dollars. This is the fourth arms package that the U.S. has announced for Taiwan in a week. It's also the ninth for the Trump administration. Taiwan is not only buying new weapons, the military is also undergoing Combat Readiness Week exercises. People could see tanks on the streets of Danshui, north of Taipei. The Defense Ministry said the aim is to use real soldiers, weapons, and terrain to train for real combat.
Now, at the top of the show, we mentioned how defensive weapons and same-sex marriage are actually both sources of power for Taiwan. But the question is, where do they intersect? We'll have that answer for you right now in #Taiwan.
October is Pride Month, and as one of the most LGBT-friendly countries in the world, Taiwan is not shying away from celebrating Pride. Last year, Taiwan officially made same-sex marriage legal. But we didn't stop there. We're still making great progress despite the COVID-19 pandemic. For one, Taipei will be the only country in the world to host a full-scale Pride parade since the pandemic began. It will take place in Taipei on October 31st. Halloween! Taiwan also recently hosted the very first Asia Rainbow Ride, a biking event geared toward raising LGBT awareness. Finally, earlier this week, Taipei became the first city in Asia to join the Rainbow Cities Network, a worldwide coalition of cities that promote LGBT-friendly policies. By the way, that Rainbow Street mural is right outside Taipei City Hall. I actually passed by it just as they were finishing it and managed to snap this shot. It felt good knowing that the place where I lived was committed to fostering a friendly environment for all groups of people. Anyway, Taiwan is not letting anything get in the way of LGBT progress. Lawmakers are trying to expand same-sex marriage laws to be more inclusive. But the big story of the week on social media involves Taiwan's army. Since 2014, Taiwan's armed forces have held collective weddings every year to encourage soldiers to help raise Taiwan's fertility rate. In 2019, after same-sex marriage passed, 3 same-sex couples applied to get married in one of those weddings. But all 3 withdrew their registration at the last minute due to social pressure. In 2020, however, 2 same-sex couples will be getting married at this year's army wedding. Meet Wang Yi and Meng Youmei, and Chen Yingxuan and Li Lizhen. The Taiwan Army's Facebook page published photos of couples getting married at its collective wedding planned for October 30th. Netizens were supportive of all the brides and grooms-to-be. However, these 2 same-sex couples stole the show. Their wedding announcements garnered over 40,000 likes, 2,500 comments, and 1,800 shares. Taiwan's major media outlets picked up the story, and the 2 couples are all over social media. I think it's important to realize just how significant accomplishments like this are for the LGBT community. Kwang Ting Chen commented on one of the photos, saying, "Not only did you make your presence felt, but you also make our voice heard. So proud of you." I mean, I love that. A lot. Here's to Wang, Meng, Chen, and Li. Here's to all the same-sex couples out there hoping for an equal chance at love. You guys deserve nothing but happiness, and as excited as I am for this LGBT first in Taiwan, well, I just hope that one day we can look at something like this and go, just another wedding.
On Saturday, October 31st, Taipei is going to be hosting something rare in a global pandemic. A pride parade.
That's right. Now, recently, I caught up with some people who are actually building a float for the Pride Parade. Have a look. Rainbow-colored qipao fabric, kissing unicorns, and people with power tools. A team of workers is creating a fabulous float for the only full-scale Pride Parade anywhere in the world in the time of coronavirus. It's going up right here in Taipei on October 31st.
The name of our float is the Magic Unicorn Float.
It's a rainbow unicorn.
It's a rainbow unicorn. So the front part will have the unicorn and then a rainbow on the back end. The panels on each side will be cut out of wood, like we did some of the cutting and sawing and sanding today. And then there will be fabric. We have sequin fabric that will be the body of the unicorn.
There's brocade.
Yes, so like traditional qipao fabric will make the rainbow, like the long rainbow. We will also have a smoke machine blowing smoke out of the horn, and then we have a bubble machine that will have bubbles coming out of the rainbow. And so like when I say it's magical, it's really going to be magical.
It's going to be so magical.
And then we have a DJ booth where we have 4 amazing DJs from across Taiwan that will be performing throughout the parade, and then dancers and femme like us, like we're going to be there partying it up and having a great time. So anyone that is like queer femme, person of color, or just an ally, or who just wants to party with us on Saturday, come on out. We will be there on the North Route. So come join us. I decided to do this float because I noticed in the previous years that the Pride Parade is mostly centered around the gay boys. So it was like, we need more representation. Like there's other people out here. There's the queer femme, there's Black and Indigenous people of color. Like, so this float is here to represent them, like to represent us and show that we're here and we can live our lives out loud and our colorful lives on a big stage here in Taiwan.
Yes.
Very colorful.
Very colorful. We're amplifying the voices of the AFAB community, the queer femme community, and all the non-binary folks, just everyone that isn't traditionally represented. Like, we have a place for you.
It's been a lot of people helping with this. This isn't a one-woman project. Like, this took a lot of work and effort and time.
It's a community project, definitely.
And a lot of our friends have really rallied behind us to be able to do this. So like the owners of Mary Jane's Pizza Bar, Dom and Sean, they're actually building it. They have designed the actual float and the t-shirt logo too. And then Juju's and Cafe Delita, Uncle Q's vegan restaurant.
Oh, he's in on it too?
Yeah, he's in it.
Is he gonna be there?
I hope he is.
Oh my gosh! Okay,
I hope
so
he is.
excited.
And like we have a few others like Cantina del Gio and who else? Timu Bar down in White Owl. Like the expected number for the parade is still at like 80,000, and that's from people who are here in Taiwan. And last year it was a bit bigger because everyone was able to come from overseas,
so people could fly in. But this year, because of COVID, it's just like local.
Yeah,
so
it's really local and 80,000 people. So I think we'll still have a few hundred joining our float.
Well, I think it's really exciting in Taiwan because we have handled the coronavirus so well. We're actually able, like we never had a lockdown. We didn't really go into economic recession. We're actually one of only 2 countries in the entire world that are expected to grow continuously economically.
Like as a foreigner, like it's a big privilege to still be here and to be able to still live my life and live my life safely as a person of color, but also as a queer woman. Like we can live our life and celebrate ourselves. We've been celebrating all month actually, like the whole month of October is Pride Month here in Taiwan. But Saturday, the last Saturday of October, is our big Pride Parade and celebrations and parties. It's going to be an amazing and crazy day. So I can't wait. Cheers.
It's time for our lightning round news quiz where I get to ask Leslie and Andrew about the week's news. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
So you guys have 60 seconds to guess as many questions as you can. You can play along at home if you like. All right, ready, go. Microsoft announced their biggest investment in Taiwan yet. How many digital talents did Microsoft say they would help Taiwan train in their new venture?
200,000?
That's right.
Nice.
In a survey released on Sunday, how many percent are willing to fight for Taiwan if China invades?
70%.
77%.
Ooh.
The Council of Agriculture has sent reminders to local governments to invalidate their bans on what?
U.S. pork?
Water? Water use?
What
usage?
specifically? What
Bacon.
kind of pork?
Ractopamine.
Right. Okay.
Bacon.
The U.S. Pacific Air Force asked the publication The War Zone to retract what report?
Wow, these are really
This
hard.
is really hard. I don't know.
That a U.S. Air Force RC-135W Rivet Joint spy plane flew over Taipei.
I did hear that.
What creatures have been wreaking havoc on agricultural produce in southern Taiwan?
Iguanas.
That's right. And one more, a new bookstore in Kaohsiung was featured on CNN because of what unique feature?
Oh, the lights are off?
That's right.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
It's all in the dark except for spotlights on the books.
Oh, I thought it was a bookstore for the blind.
I hope they don't have bookshelves.
So 400 bookshelves actually.
Danger.
But
Ooh,
pretty
that's
cool.
danger zone.
Pretty cool looking.
Yeah.
Danger zone.
Be careful. Tread.
So pretty good job, you guys. And that is our news quiz for the week.
And finally today, as you can see, Leslie has his own slider and he's joining us for this. Our final question, Saturday is Halloween. What are you going to dress up as?
Can I just first say I'm thrilled to be part of this. I'm so glad to have my own thingamabobber, but I'm going to be a runner. And that's because on November 1st, I have to wake up at 4 a.m. to go for a street run. So I will not be in Halloween this year or participating in Halloween this year. And I do love me some Halloween.
Oh, very nice. All right, Nellie, what are you going to dress
I
up
would
as?
love to be Wonder Woman, a symbol of girl power.
Yes, well, you are Wonder Woman already. And for me, I'm going to be a scared voter.
Oh, that's too real. Too real.
That's okay. Sometimes our outfits have to be kind of real, right? To really
right.
get the feeling for it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for this edition of Taiwan Insider. Be sure to connect with us on social media.
Yes, and if you liked our show, subscribe and leave a comment below. For Taiwan Insider, I'm Natalie Tso.
I'm Leslie Liao.
I'm Andrew Ryan. See you next week.